In the vast corridors of human thought, certain names stand out as beacons of light, illuminating the path for future generations. These names don't just reflect the era in which they lived, but open doors to new perspectives and challenge us to think deeper about the world around us. One such remarkable name is Georg Lukács, a philosopher, social theorist, and literary critic from Hungary. With a sharp intellect and an unparalleled pen, Lukács sought to untangle the fundamental questions of humanity and society. Through his groundbreaking synthesis of Marxism and Hegelianism, he offered a fresh approach to literary criticism and social theory, leaving an indelible mark on 20th century thought. But who was Georg Lukács? What shaped his life and his ideas? Why does his work continue to inspire intellectuals and critics even today? These are the questions we'll explore together in this video as we dive into his life, his key contributions, and the legacy he left behind. Whether you're a philosophy enthusiast, a curious thinker, or just someone interested in understanding the great minds that shaped our world, you're in for an exciting journey. Lukács was born on April 13, 1885, in Budapest, into a wealthy Jewish family. Growing up in an environment of privilege, he had access to excellent education and the cultural richness of a rapidly modernizing Europe. But what makes his story fascinating is not the comfort of his upbringing, but the way he broke away from it. From a young age, Lukács was restless, always questioning, always seeking a deeper understanding of the world. This quest for truth led him to study at some of the most prestigious universities in Europe, Budapest, Berlin, and Heidelberg, where he was profoundly influenced by the ideas of Kant, Hegel, Dilthey, and Simmel. Early in his career, Lukács showed a deep passion for aesthetics and literary criticism. His early works, such as The Soul and the Forms and The Theory of the Novel, reflect this phase of his intellectual journey. However, his encounter with Marxism during the aftermath of the Russian Revolution and his experiences in the turbulent political landscape of early 20th century Europe marked a significant turning point in his life. Lukács joined the Communist Party of Hungary in 1918 and actively participated in the Hungarian Soviet Republic of 1919, serving as the Commissioner for Education and Culture. These events shaped his later work, grounding his ideas in a commitment to addressing the real conditions of human existence. Despite his political activism, Lukács was never just a politician or ideologue. He was, first and foremost, a thinker. His seminal book, History and Class Consciousness, 1923, is a testament to this. In this work, Lukács explored the relationship between class consciousness, ideology, and revolution, offering a powerful critique of capitalism and its effects on human life. The book became a cornerstone of Western Marxism and established Lukács as one of its leading figures. However, life was not easy for Lukács. After the fall of the Hungarian Soviet Republic, he faced political persecution and was forced into exile. He lived in Vienna and later in Moscow, where he continued his intellectual pursuits while navigating the challenging dynamics of Stalinist politics. Even in exile, Lukács remained committed to his work, producing significant contributions in the fields of philosophy, literature, and sociology. One of the most fascinating aspects of Lukács' legacy is his ability to bridge the gap between theory and practice. His writings on realism, alienation, and the role of literature in society have influenced generations of thinkers and critics. Lukács believed that art, especially literature, was not just a reflection of society but an active force in shaping it. His critical works, such as Studies in European Realism and The Specificity of Aesthetics, delve deep into these ideas, emphasizing the transformative power of art in illuminating social conditions. Through it all, Lukács remained steadfast in his belief that philosophy and culture are inseparable from the material realities of life. His intellectual journey, from an early interest in aesthetics to a deep engagement with Marxist theory, reflects a lifelong commitment to understanding the totality of human existence, the interconnectedness of our thoughts, actions, and societal structures. As we delve deeper into Lukács' life and work in this video, we'll explore how his ideas evolved over time, how his personal experiences shaped his intellectual pursuits, and why his legacy continues to resonate in fields ranging from philosophy and literary theory to political thought. So whether you're here to learn about his philosophical ideas, understand his literary contributions, or simply discover what makes him such a towering figure in intellectual history, stay with us. Georg Lukács' story is not just about a thinker. It's about a man who dared to question, dared to challenge, and dared to imagine a world where human potential could be fully realized. Let's begin. Part 1. Life and Times of Georg Lukács. Georg Lukács was born on April 13, 1885 in Budapest, Hungary, into a wealthy and influential Jewish family. His father, Joseph Lowinger, was a successful banker who later received a noble title, enabling the family to adopt the name Lukács de Szeged. This privilege provided young Georg with access to an elite education and exposure to the cultural and intellectual vibrancy of Central Europe at the turn of the 20th century. Growing up, Lukács was deeply immersed in the arts and literature. He developed a fascination with drama, opera, and philosophy, which would shape his intellectual pursuits later in life. Despite the comfort and privilege of his upbringing, Lukács displayed an early tendency to question the norms of his environment, seeking deeper meaning and truth beyond the surface of societal conventions. Lukács pursued his higher education in philosophy, law, and sociology, attending the universities of Budapest, Berlin, and Heidelberg, which were among the most prestigious academic institutions of the time. These formative years introduced him to the ideas of some of the greatest minds of the 19th and early 20th centuries, including Immanuel Kant, G.W.F. Hegel, Wilhelm Dilthey, and Georg Simmel. It was in Heidelberg, under the mentorship of Max Weber, that Lukács' intellectual trajectory took a decisive turn. Weber's profound insights into sociology and his emphasis on understanding the broader structures of society influenced Lukács' thinking about the intersection of philosophy, culture, and politics. Another significant influence was Benedetto Croce, whose work on aesthetics and history deeply resonated with Lukács' early interests. Lukács' early works reflect his engagement with aesthetic theory and literary criticism. His first major book, The Soul and the Forms, 1911, is a collection of essays exploring the relationship between art and life, emphasizing the transformative potential of art to elevate the human spirit. In The Theory of the Novel, 1916, Lukács delved deeper into the aesthetic realm, analyzing the historical development of the novel as a literary form and its capacity to reflect the alienation of modern life. During this period, Lukács was heavily influenced by German Romanticism and idealism, particularly the works of Hegel. He sought to reconcile the tension between the fragmented nature of modern society and the philosophical ideal of totality, a theme that would persist throughout his life. The outbreak of World War I and the subsequent Russian Revolution profoundly impacted Lukács, leading him to reevaluate his philosophical foundations. Disillusioned by the failures of liberalism and idealism to address the crises of modernity, he turned to Marxism as a framework for understanding and transforming society. This marked a radical shift in his intellectual journey, as he began to see philosophy not merely as a tool for interpreting the world, but as a means of changing it. In 1918, Lukács joined the Communist Party of Hungary, embracing the revolutionary potential of Marxist theory. His active involvement in the short-lived Hungarian Soviet Republic of 1919, where he served as Commissioner for Education and Culture, demonstrated his commitment to integrating theory and practice. Although the Republic was quickly overthrown, this experience solidified Lukács' belief in the necessity of revolutionary action. Exile and intellectual growth. After the fall of the Hungarian Soviet Republic, Lukács fled to Vienna, where he continued his work as a writer and theorist while living in exile. These were challenging years, marked by financial struggles and political persecution, but they were also intellectually fruitful. In Vienna, Lukács wrote his seminal work, History and Class Consciousness, 1923, which established him as a leading figure in Western Marxism. The book was a bold and innovative interpretation of Marxist thought, emphasizing the centrality of class consciousness and reification in understanding capitalist society. While the book was initially criticized by orthodox Marxists for its Hegelian tendencies, it has since become one of the most influential texts in Marxist philosophy. Lukács' time in exile also brought him into contact with other prominent Marxist thinkers, such as Karl Korsch and Antonio Gramsci. further enriching his intellectual perspective. Despite the hardships, these years solidified his reputation as a thinker who could bridge the gap between abstract theory and practical politics. Returned to Hungary in later years. In 1945, after the end of World War II, Lukács returned to Hungary, where he took up a position as a professor at the University of Budapest. During this period, he became a prominent figure in Hungary's intellectual and political life, advocating for a Marxism that was both critical and humanistic. However, Lukács's commitment to critical thought often brought him into conflict with the rigid dogmas of Stalinist orthodoxy. During the Hungarian Revolution of 1956, he briefly served as Minister of Culture in the reformist government, but the Soviet suppression of the revolution led to his arrest and temporary exile within Hungary. In his later years, Lukács turned his attention back to philosophy and aesthetics, producing works that reflected a more reflective and nuanced perspective on Marxism. His final years were dedicated to teaching, writing, and mentoring a new generation of thinkers. Lukács passed away on June 4, 1971, in Budapest, leaving behind a legacy that continues to inspire scholars and activists worldwide. Georg Lukács' intellectual journey can be divided into distinct phases, each reflecting the evolving nature of his philosophical inquiries and the influence of the social and political events of his time. These phases, though distinct, are interconnected by a central theme that dominated his work: the search for totality, an understanding of the world that integrates the fragmented aspects of human existence into a coherent whole. In the early phase of his career, Lukács was deeply engaged with aesthetics and literary criticism, areas that would remain central to his intellectual output throughout his life. His early works, such as The Soul and the Forms, 1911, and The Theory of the Novel, 1916, reflect his interest in the relationship between art, literature, and life. In The Soul and the Forms, Lukács argued that literature and art serve as vehicles for exploring the human condition. He believed that through artistic forms, individuals could transcend the mundane realities of life and achieve a deeper understanding of their existence. This idea was closely aligned with his admiration for German Romanticism and idealism, particularly the works of Hegel and Goethe. The Theory of the Novel further developed these ideas, analyzing the novel as a literary form that captures the alienation and fragmentation of modern life. Lukács saw the novel as a uniquely modern art form, one that emerged in response to the loss of the harmonious worldviews of earlier eras. His analysis of the novel as a reflection of social and historical conditions foreshadowed his later Marxist approach to literature. The devastation of World War I and the revolutionary fervor of the Russian Revolution marked a turning point in Lukács's intellectual trajectory. Disillusioned with the limitations of liberalism and idealism, he turned to Marxism as a framework for understanding and addressing the crises of his time. This transition was not merely a change in political allegiance, but a profound philosophical shift. Lukács embraced Marxism as a way to integrate his earlier concerns with aesthetics and alienation into a broader critique of capitalist society. He sought to apply Hegelian dialectics to Marxist theory, emphasizing the importance of totality and class consciousness in understanding the dynamics of history and society. His landmark work, History and Class Consciousness, 1923, is the culmination of this intellectual transformation. In this book, Lukács introduced the concept of reification, a term borrowed from Marx that he expanded to describe the process by which social relations under capitalism are transformed into seemingly objective and independent things. He argued that this reification alienates individuals from their true human potential, reducing them to passive objects within a mechanistic system. One of the central arguments of history and class consciousness is that the proletariat, as the revolutionary class, has the potential to overcome this alienation by achieving class consciousness. Lukács saw the proletariat as the key to realizing a unified totality, where human activity and social structures are no longer fragmented but integrated into a coherent whole. Criticism and the rise of Western Marxism. While history and class consciousness established Lukács as a leading figure in Western Marxism, it also drew criticism from orthodox Marxists, who accused him of idealism and a deviation from Marx's materialist foundations. The Soviet authorities, in particular, viewed his Hegelian reinterpretation of Marxism with suspicion, leading Lukács to distance himself from some of the more controversial aspects of the book in later years. Despite these criticisms, Lukács' work laid the foundation for a distinct tradition within Marxist thought, one that emphasized culture, ideology, and human agency. His ideas influenced a wide range of thinkers, including Theodor Adorno, Herbert Marcuse, and Antonio Gramsci, and became a cornerstone of the Frankfurt School. In the later stages of his career, Lukács revisited his earlier concerns with aesthetics and literature, producing some of his most important works in these fields. He argued that art, particularly realist literature, has the power to illuminate the social and historical conditions of its time. Unlike modernist or avant-garde art, which he criticized for its abstraction and detachment from reality, Lukács championed realism as a mode of art that reveals the deeper truths of human experience. In works such as Studies in European Realism, 1948, and The Specificity of Aesthetics, 1963, Lukács analyzed the works of authors like Balzac, Tolstoy, and Dostoevsky, praising their ability to depict the contradictions and complexities of social life. He believed that realist literature could serve as a mirror of society, helping individuals to recognize and challenge the forces of alienation and oppression. The ethical turn. In his later years, Lukács' work took on a more reflective and ethical tone. He began to explore questions of morality, humanism, and democracy, emphasizing the importance of maintaining a critical and humanistic perspective within Marxist thought. This period of his intellectual journey reflects his lifelong commitment to understanding the human condition in all its complexity and striving for a more just and equitable world. Key concepts in Lukács' philosophy. To better understand Lukács' intellectual contributions, it is essential to examine some of the key concepts that define his work. Totality, the idea that social phenomena cannot be understood in isolation but must be analyzed as part of an interconnected whole. Reification, the process by which human relationships and activities are objectified and treated as commodities under capitalism. Class consciousness, the awareness of one's social and economic position within the structure of capitalism, leading to collective action for revolutionary change. Alienation, the estrangement of individuals from their labor, their fellow humans, and their true potential in a capitalist society. Realism, a mode of artistic representation that captures the social and historical realities of life, as opposed to the abstraction and subjectivity of modernist art. Part 3. Major works and their impact. Georg Lukács' intellectual legacy is deeply rooted in his extensive body of work, which spans philosophy, literary criticism, aesthetics, and Marxist theory. Each of his major works reflects a distinct phase in his intellectual journey, offering profound insights into the nature of art, society, and human existence. Below, we explore his most significant writings and their impact on various fields of thought. The Soul and the Forms, 1911. This collection of essays marks the beginning of Lukács' intellectual career and reflects his early engagement with aesthetics and literary criticism. In this work, Lukács examines the relationship between art and life, arguing that literature serves as a medium for exploring the deeper truths of human existence. Core ideas. Lukács saw art as a means of transcending the fragmentation of modern life. He explored how literary forms such as the essay can bridge the gap between subjective experience and universal meaning. Impact. The book established Lukács as a significant figure in aesthetic philosophy and laid the groundwork for his later explorations of totality and alienation. The Theory of the Novel, 1916. Written during World War I, this seminal work explores the evolution of the novel as a literary form in the context of historical and social change. Lukács contrasts the harmonious worldview of ancient epic literature with the fragmented and alienated perspective of modern novels. Core ideas. The novel is a product of modernity, reflecting the disintegration of a unified cultural worldview. It serves as a mirror of the individual's alienation from society, capturing the struggles of the modern human condition. Impact. This book became a cornerstone of literary theory, influencing generations of scholars in their analysis of modern literature. History and Class Consciousness, 1923. This is arguably Lukács' most influential work, marking his transition from aesthetics to Marxist theory. In this groundbreaking book, he applies Hegelian dialectics to Marxist analysis, exploring the concepts of reification, class consciousness, and the role of the proletariat in revolutionary change. Core ideas: reification. Capitalism reduces human relations to commodities, obscuring the true nature of social and economic dynamics. Class consciousness. The proletariat as a revolutionary class has the potential to achieve a unified understanding of society and lead transformative change. The need for a dialectical approach to understanding history and society, emphasizing the interconnectedness of all social phenomena. Impact. While initially criticized by orthodox Marxists for its Hegelian influence, the book later became a foundational text for Western Marxism. It introduced concepts that remain central to critical theory, sociology, and political philosophy. In this work, Lukács defends realism as the most effective form of artistic expression, arguing that it captures the complexities of social and historical realities more effectively than modernist or avant-garde art. Realist literature portrays the struggles and contradictions of society, offering insights into the human condition. Writers like Balzac, Tolstoy, and Dostoevsky exemplify the power of realism to reflect and critique the social order. Lukács' advocacy for realism influenced debates in literary theory and criticism, particularly within Marxist circles. His analysis of realist literature highlighted its potential to inspire social awareness and change. The Destruction of Reason, 1954. This work is a polemical critique of irrationalism in Western philosophy, particularly the ideas that emerged in the 19th and 20th centuries. Lukács argues that these philosophies, including those of Nietzsche and Heidegger, paved the way for fascism by rejecting rationality and embracing subjective or mystical worldviews. Core ideas: rational thought is essential for understanding and addressing the contradictions of society. The abandonment of reason leads to reactionary and anti-democratic ideologies. Impact. While controversial, the book remains a significant contribution to debates about the role of philosophy in shaping political ideologies. The Specificity of Aesthetics, 1963, is one of Lukács' final major contributions to the field of aesthetics. It represents a comprehensive analysis of the nature and purpose of art, emphasizing its unique ability to reveal the truths of human existence. Core ideas. Art has a distinct role in society, offering insights that cannot be achieved through science or philosophy. Aesthetic experience bridges the gap between individual subjectivity and universal meaning. Impact. The work solidified Lukács' reputation as a leading thinker in aesthetics, inspiring further studies on the role of art in society. Lesser-known but significant works. Solzhenitsyn and Realism, 1967. Analyzing the works of Alexander Solzhenitsyn, Lukács defended realism against accusations of being outdated. Essays on the Sociology of Literature, a collection of essays exploring the relationship between literature and its social context. Impact of Lukács' major works. Lukács' writings left an indelible mark on multiple fields, including his integration of Hegelian dialectics with Marxist theory influenced Western Marxism, critical theory, and political philosophy. Literary criticism. His defense of realism reshaped debates about the role of literature in society. Sociology. His analysis of reification and class consciousness provided new tools for understanding the dynamics of capitalist society. Aesthetics. His emphasis on the transformative power of art inspired generations of artists and critics. The legacy of Georg Lukács extends far beyond his lifetime, influencing countless scholars, writers, and movements across the globe. His profound insights into philosophy, literature, and society have left an enduring mark on how we understand the complexities of modern life. 1. Influence on Western Marxism. Lukács is considered one of the founding figures of Western Marxism, a branch of Marxism that focuses on cultural and philosophical dimensions rather than strictly economic determinism. His seminal work, History and Class Consciousness, influenced key thinkers, including Theodor Adorno, Herbert Marcuse, and Antonio Gramsci, who developed concepts like cultural hegemony and critical theory based on his ideas. Lukács' emphasis on totality, the interconnectedness of all aspects of society, remains foundational to Marxist thought today. Contributions to literary criticism. Lukács's advocacy for realist literature positioned him as one of the most influential literary theorists of the 20th century. He viewed literature as a mirror of historical and social realities, praising realist writers like Tolstoy and Balzac for their ability to reflect the contradictions of society. His critiques of modernist literature sparked debates that continue in literary studies today. Number 3. Political philosophy and social thought. Lukács's critiques of capitalism and alienation have remained relevant in contemporary discussions of justice and reform. His emphasis on class consciousness inspired political movements seeking to address systemic inequalities. Despite criticism for his occasional alignment with Stalinist policies, his broader vision of Marxism as a humanistic and ethical framework has resonated with advocates of democratic socialism worldwide. Contemporary relevance. In the 21st century, Lukács's ideas continue to inspire movements in fields, including critical theory and cultural studies. His concepts of reification and ideology are central to these disciplines. Global justice movements. His vision of interconnected social systems has informed struggles against inequality and oppression. Environmental philosophy. The notion of totality has been adapted to address climate change and the interconnected nature of environmental crises. Georg Lukács was more than a philosopher. He was a visionary who sought to bridge the gap between thought and action. His relentless pursuit of totality, a unified understanding of fragmented realities, continues to challenge and inspire. Life reminds us that philosophy is not just an academic exercise, but a tool for understanding and transforming the world. I encourage you to reflect on the questions his work raises. How can literature shape our understanding of society? How do philosophy and action intertwine in the quest for justice? These are the kinds of questions that Lukács dedicated his life to exploring, and they remain as relevant today as ever. Thank you for watching this deep dive into Georg Lukács's life and legacy. If you enjoyed this video and want to explore more about transformative thinkers, don't forget to visit FactUp, where I share content designed to encourage deeper thinking and curiosity about the world around us. See you in the next video.